Hey y'all, this is the 112 project directions part 2 video so that you can do part 2. What you're going to do is take the organisms that you've already photographed and you're going to try to identify them. In my opinion, this is the most frustrating part of the project. It can get really difficult, especially if you're trying to identify certain insects or certain snakes and you don't have a good picture. It can get really tough. In my opinion, the easiest things to identify are going to be the birds and the cacti. There's two reasons for that. I know a lot of the birds, so you can ask me and I can tell you. And the cacti I actually know a lot of too, but there's just not very many cacti around the world. So when you're looking up cacti, it's easy to find the ones that live in our desert because our desert has actually the most biodiversity of cactus species. So most species are from our desert, which is pretty darn cool. So that's why I think those are the easiest ones. But here's what you're going to have to do to make this work. I have over here, sorry, I have a lot of images. I have a lot of pictures that I've taken of organisms. So I'm just going to show you some of them that I've taken. And I'm pretty much taken all of these in my new house since I moved here. So this is a centipede that was dead under my trash can. I moved the trash can or actually, I don't think I moved the trash can. I don't remember. I went outside and this was dead. So I took a picture of it. I put my hand there for scale so you can see how big it is compared to my hand. That's a centipede, so it would be kind of easy to find this one because I would have to look up centipedes in New Mexico, and then I have the leg color, I have the body segments here, so this one might be easy to identify. This is another bug that I found on the side of my house, and I think it's really pretty, but this is a beetle, and beetles are generally difficult to identify because there's just so many different species of beetles. This picture is actually from my old house. This is a turtle that was by the side of my house one day after it rained. I don't think this is a native turtle. I think this is someone's pet and they let it go. It's a little box turtle of some kind. Here is a snake picture from my new house. So this is the snake right here. You can see its head is on this side and its tail is on this side. And it's really hard to identify because it's not very big. I don't have a detailed picture of the head, but I just think it's cool that there was a snake in my front yard. I never saw a snake at my old house, so I'm really excited. But what we're going to work on identifying right now is a roadrunner. So I have this roadrunner, and Mr. Arneson spotted him in the backyard the other day, and he said, "There's a big bird in the backyard, but I'm not sure what it is." So I went outside and I knew immediately what it is because I'm a nerdy naturalist that studies all kinds of critters all the time. So I was like, oh my gosh, it's a roadrunner, and it was shaking around some animal. I couldn't tell what it was, but when I zoomed in with my camera, I noticed it's a baby bird. So this exciting day for this roadrunner, it had a meal, and then it hopped up on the fence, and then it hopped onto the walk wall and ran off. So I have this picture, or these cool pictures of this roadrunner, so I'm going to try to identify it. Let's go to the directions right here, and it has these websites that you can use. Now, you can also Google roadrunner, but if you Google something like bird, there's so many birds that I would not Google that. You're gonna just get frustrated trying to find it. So you can go to this website, and I picked this website because it really does have a pretty comprehensive set of birds that you can find in New Mexico. So this was made in Los Alamos, so that's northern New Mexico, but it shows you any of the birds that live in southern New Mexico as well. So I'm going to show you guys a cool trick for research, and it's called Control F. So push Control F on your computer, and then you're going to have a box pop up. Sometimes it's at the top, sometimes it's at the bottom. It just depends on where you're looking. And you can type in what you're looking for. So I'm going to type in roadrunner. It's taking it a little while to think. I believe that's because I am also working on this recording, so it's having trouble. But it took me down here to the bottom of the web page. So I think, okay, so look, it says there's 2 of 4 matches. So right now on the page, it is showing me where's my, I think I have to go back up. You can click these arrows and then it'll highlight the words Roadrunner for you anywhere on the page so that you can find what you're looking for without having to scroll, because this is a really long web page. It has almost all the birds that you can see in New Mexico, which is a lot. There's like 300 or 500. I can't remember. I know that's a very big difference. I should remember, but I don't. Okay, so this is where I'm going to get all my information about the Roadrunner. Okay, another name for it that I did not know is the Chaparral cock. Sorry, I'm immature. I only have brothers. But birds have a lot of really weird names. Like there's the bush tit, the blue-footed booby. There's like all kinds of funny names when it comes to birds. So there's a titmouse. So anyways, this is going to be where I find my information right here. So if you, you'll need to know when you make your slides about several things. You're going to need its scientific name, which this website has the scientific names right here. How do I know this is the scientific name? Well, because it is in italics and there's two parts. So there's always two parts of a scientific name. And this one is Geococcyx californianus. Okay, so this is the scientific names are always Latin based, so they look like weird words, but you can kind of like recognize some words within them, like geo means earth, California, this looks like California, you know, so you can see that. It says that it's native. It's not very common for you to see them, so I've only seen one Roadrunner in my yard, and I've lived in Las Cruces for a really long time. I don't live out by the desert, really, but that's probably why. The food source for it is insects, reptiles, rodents, and birds. So I saw it eating a baby bird, and it also eats other consumers. So this would put it in a carnivore category, and that's something else I really have to keep in mind when I'm making my information later. So this is kind of how you go about identifying all of these organisms. I'll tell you the birds. I know a lot about birds, so you can always use me for that. This resource has all the kinds of plants that you can find in New Mexico. This was an NMSU report, so it really is very comprehensive. When you open this one, you have to scroll down before you start getting to the identification guide, and it has them by category. So like if you find a grass out in the desert, you can look up what kind of grass it is by looking at the seed shape. So later on in the food web, I'm going to pick a gamma grass to put in there. And this is 6 weeks gamma side oats. I'm going to pick the blue gamma grass to put in my food web later. So this is really helpful. It also has the scientific name right here. All the plants are going to be primary producers, but it'll tell you a little bit about it. So like if you find a grass that's 2 feet tall and it has seeds that are similar to one that says that it's 6 inches and yours is 2 feet tall, then you know that you have this one instead of this one. It also shows you where the thing grows in the state, so you can find out like, hey, is this even possible to be growing here in my county? Because some of the things only grow in certain parts of the state. For example, this grass you're not really going to find very often around Las Cruces, because Las Cruces is over here and this is on the eastern side of the state. Okay, so that's that resource. I really like this one. If you want to look for cacti, I found this website. It is not comprehensive. That means it does not show you all the cactus, but it can give you a good place to start. So if you are finding a barrel cactus shape, then you can look up different types of barrel cactus. There's also a bunch of types of prickly pear. My favorite prickly pear is called the cow tongue prickly pear, and I don't even see it on this list. So this one doesn't have all of them. And if you show me a picture of a cactus, I can probably tell you like, oh, you need to look up different types of yucca or check out the soap tree. I can give you some information about what to pick. This arthropods one is the hardest one to navigate because there's a lot of them on here. There's 653 different insect species that are being shown to you on here. So like if I was looking at my centipede, it also has other, this isn't just insects. That's why I put arthropods. Arthropods are the bugs and crabs and spiders and all of the creepy crawlies that people generally do not like very much, but I don't mind because I think they're interesting. So if I do Control F on here and I'm looking for a centipede, then I would not scroll through until I find a centipede because it would be really, like, it would take forever. So there's a couple of different types of centipedes that it found. It found 3 matches. So the soil centipede, that definitely does not look like what I had in my yard. The giant red-headed one, okay, to me that looks a lot like what I had, but I'm going to check the other one. House centipede. I've seen these before. If you find these in your house, do not kill them because they eat terrible bugs like cockroaches. Let them go free. If you bug them, they will sting you, but it's not worse than a bee sting. And I'm telling you, they'll eat your cockroaches, so let them go free. All right, so I need to go back one. So the giant red-headed centipede is the one that I found in my yard the other day. It didn't have a red head, so I'm going to look more and find out what other information I have here and see if I need to look this up somewhere else. This is its species name, so you really need to make sure that you're looking for the species names because those are kind of easy to forget. Make sure that you are using the websites I gave you as at least a starting place because it'll help you look up the right terms later on. Okay, then there's snakes and lizards, so there's something called herpetology. Those are the people that study the reptiles and amphibians, and they have made this great website for us in New Mexico that has all the snakes that you can find and where you can find them. They also do it for lizards and turtles. So if you by chance find a turtle, which there's not very many of, like you can't find them very often, then you can click on this. If you find an amphibian, amphibians are kind of like reptiles except for they have a different type of skin. They don't have scales and they breathe partly through their skin. So if you find an amphibian, then you could look those up here too using a link on that resource. Okay, if this is taking you really, really long to do, so this is taking you more than 2 hours, then you should probably send me, you can even text me, and I will get a picture of what you're looking at, and I can probably give you another place to start. So I say use these websites, use your Google terms, maybe do that for 5 minutes per organism, and if you cannot find it, then text me and I can send you a resource that you can find your organism on because I usually have books that we use in class, but I can't give you all my books. So I am stuck using these resources, which is a little bit more complicated. All right, that is part 2 of your project, you guys. Get that done. And then I will see you when you're doing part 3.